Michael eagerly awaited the arrival of the weekend, when he could forget about his stuffy office and head out into the woods. None of his colleagues knew about his love for nature, and even more so, no one knew his secret. No, Michael wasn't a hunter or a mushroom picker. He was interested in something else: herbs. Yes, the most ordinary herbs that grow in the forest and attract no attention. But unlike most people, Michael had known since childhood that there are no ordinary herbs. His late grandfather, a folk healer, had taught him everything he knew. By the age of 25, Michael could make all sorts of herbal infusions that helped cure illnesses. And not only that, he also had poisons, which he kept in a special syringe hidden in a secret pocket under his jacket lining. Of course, the poison wasn't lethal. It was more paralyzing and sedative than truly harmful. At most, a person would be immobilized for 2 or 3 hours, then wake up regretting they had ever messed with Michael. He had already used it to teach a lesson to a couple of muggers who had ambushed him near the subway. Michael didn't panic. He simply used the syringe, and the attackers suddenly felt dizzy and collapsed as if mown down. For gathering herbs, Michael had his own secret clearing deep in the woods, a place his late grandpa Nicholas had shown him. Nicholas had personally planted the most important kinds of herbs there for his remedies. Ever since, every summer weekend, Michael would come to this clearing and immerse himself in the process of collecting samples. After an hour and a half on the commuter train, Michael got off at Maplewood Station with his backpack and headed into the woods. His mood was excellent, and the music in his headphones was especially pleasant. He could find this clearing even with his eyes closed. Years of hiking had taught him exactly how many times to turn and where to avoid the bog or the small stream. The clearing greeted Michael with blooming herbs and an indescribable aroma from every plant. He smiled and walked to the center, where a massive oak stump served as his table and resting place. But as he approached, his heart began to race. On the stump lay a strange object, resembling either a camera or a forgotten radio. "What is this? Where did it come from?" Michael whispered, glancing around warily. Getting closer, he realized it was a video camera with a battery and a small display for viewing footage. His throat went dry. A camera in the woods, on his secret clearing? For so many years, no one had known about this place. Could there be a new herbalist in the age of the internet and advanced technology? No, this was clearly something else. Curious. Michael picked up the device and pressed the play button. At first, nothing happened, and he thought the battery was dead, but then the screen lit up and footage began to play, changing so rapidly it made his eyes hurt. After a minute, he saw his own face on the recording. He flinched, nearly dropping the camera in surprise. The angle shifted, and now Michael saw himself standing by the oak stump in the clearing. "What the heck is this?" he muttered. The angle changed again, and now he could see what was happening behind him. He was bent over, picking St. John's wort and placing the flowers in a special vial. The most terrifying part was that at that very moment someone, or something, was watching him from the bushes. A dark silhouette stood out against the juniper, but Michael couldn't make out any details. There was no date on the video, so he had no idea when it was filmed. Still in shock, Michael fast-forwarded the video, thinking it was some stupid prank. He shouldn't have. The dark figure in the bushes moved closer, creeping up behind him. Now, on the video, they were less than 10 feet apart, but Michael seemed unaware and kept gathering herbs. The mysterious watcher's silhouette came closer and closer. Soon it would be able to touch Michael's shoulder with its twisted hand. At that moment, a dry branch snapped behind Michael, as if a small animal had jumped from a tree. But now he knew it was not an animal. It was something much more dangerous. A chill ran down his spine, and his hair stood on end. "No, this just can't be," Michael whispered to himself, afraid to turn around. On the camera, the horrifying creature was already looming behind him like a nightmare shadow. It seemed that in another second, Michael would dissolve into it, losing his soul before he even realized it. Gripped by terror, Michael felt as if he could sense the thing from the cursed camera standing right behind him. "Come on, turn around. Everything will be fine. It's just a stupid prank," his inner voice whispered. But he didn't listen. He knew that as soon as he did, things would spiral out of control. The next second, he heard heavy breathing by his neck, the way a predator sniffs its prey before striking. Michael glanced at the camera's display and recoiled in horror. On the video, the creature was already knocking him to the ground and tearing into his throat. Crimson blood splattered the chamomile petals, which seemed to nod in mourning. Michael's hands shook as he realized the camera was showing what would happen to him in a few moments. Before it actually happened, he finally noticed that the clothes he wore in the video matched what he was wearing today. He had just bought this hiking outfit and boots yesterday. And that's what he saw on the recording. The creature's breathing behind him was now constant, and he felt its gaze burning through him like a laser. Michael realized he was running out of time. The video already showed the monster flipping him over and plunging its clawed hand into his torn abdomen. It was unbearable to watch. His grayish insides were crushed into the young grass, and blood changed the color of the sage blossoms. Trembling all over, Michael felt the creature's hand raised for a blow behind him. He already knew what would happen next, thanks to the video that had appeared out of nowhere. Sweat poured down his face as he made a desperate move and pressed the rewind button, returning the video to the moment when the creature was just creeping up behind him. At that instant, he heard a disgruntled growl and felt something whistle past his left ear, leaving a bleeding scratch from its claws. Rewinding the video a few more frames, Michael spun around and screamed in terror. The thing before him was horrifying. A tall, hunched figure with disproportionately long arms glared at him with hatred. Its tangled hair partially covered a revolting face, more like a corpse worm crawling from a rotten skull. It was only vaguely human. Meeting its gaze, Michael hit rewind again, and the creature slowly retreated into the bushes. Hope flickered in his eyes. Maybe this was the way out. Just rewind the video, and everything would go back to how it was. He pressed the button so hard it nearly broke, but now the video froze at the beginning, refusing to rewind further. He looked at the bushes and realized he was still under the trees. The thing hadn't gone anywhere. Panic set in. No matter what he did with the camera, the recording kept starting over, each time with a slight change in the location. If the first time he stood by the oak stump, now he was by an old linden tree where he had jumped during his encounter with the creature. The monster kept approaching from the depths of the forest, always trying to get behind him. Deciding the problem was the camera itself, Michael tried to turn it off, but nothing worked. The infernal device seemed stuck, with only the rewind and fast-forward buttons functioning. In desperation, Michael hit the camera with his fist, but it was useless. The creature kept crawling from the bushes, closing the distance. Michael realized what would happen if he didn't rewind the footage. "What the hell are you? What do you want from me?" he shouted, picking up the camera from the ground and hitting rewind again. This time, he made the only right decision: to run for the train without looking back. Michael sprinted back to the station with his empty backpack, usually full of herbs, constantly checking the camera display to see how the video changed. Tears filled his eyes when he saw footage of himself hiding in one of the train cars. No, not this," he groaned, climbing the step. "You okay?" asked a girl sitting next to him in the car. Michael flinched and looked at her with a hunted gaze, resembling a cornered animal more than a normal person. No, I'm fine," he managed to say. "Just feeling a little sick." "Well, if you say so," she shrugged and went back to her book. Michael glanced at the camera screen and shivered in fear. Now the video showed the train car, with the creature moving toward its victim, sparing no one in its path. The first to scream was the conductor, as the monster gutted him and dragged him down the aisle like a kid pulling a toy truck to the sandbox. The next victim was an old lady, whose head was torn off and held by the hair as a trophy. The last before Michael was the girl sitting beside him. She was beheaded, then had her limbs torn off one by one. Suppressing a scream, Michael pressed rewind and crawled deeper into the car, hiding and waiting for his turn. He shook with feverish terror as the camera replayed the bloody massacre over and over, as if some hellish director was filming it anew, and there was nothing he could do. Suddenly, Michael remembered the syringe with the paralyzing substance in his jacket. What if he tried it against the monster? It seemed unlikely, but maybe. He had already guessed the camera was cursed, a deadly trap like the ones he'd read about on paranormal forums. Usually, witches would enchant such objects and leave them in plain sight, paying the devil for their powers by dooming whoever picked up the cursed thing. "No way! I'd rather sleep forever than end up in your jaws alive," Michael cried, pulling the syringe from his jacket's secret pocket. To his surprise, the camera's video didn't show this. Realizing he might have found a way out, Michael prepared to inject himself, but the girl next to him shouted, "Hey, what are you doing? Don't you dare!" Michael tried to ignore her, but she grabbed his hand with the syringe. "Let go! You don't understand what's happening," he shouted. A struggle ensued, and the camera fell to the floor, its footage flashing in a bloody carousel. Out of the corner of his eye, Michael saw the hunched monster appear from the back of the car, reaching for the conductor, who was distracted by the window and noticed the danger too late. Trying to break free from the girl's grip, Michael gasped and fought back. Soon, the commotion drew other passengers' attention, but no one noticed the camera on the floor. "Let go, you idiot! You don't know what's about to happen!" Michael screamed, finally freeing his hand and plunging the syringe into the girl's thigh. She gasped in surprise and collapsed, not realizing Michael had spared her a gruesome death. He quickly pulled out a second syringe and did the same to himself. As he lost consciousness, Michael silently thanked his late grandpa Nicholas for teaching him about herbs. At least, unconscious, he wouldn't suffer when the monster tore him apart. Michael awoke to someone's gloved fingers pulling back his eyelids and shining a flashlight in his eyes. "This one's alive, lucky guy," said a paramedic. "Not just him, the girl next to him survived too. Can you believe it?" Another medic replied. "The whole train car was like a meat grinder. Who knows what happened, but these two are barely scratched. The police will have to sort this out," the paramedic said, giving Michael an injection. "By the way, I found a camera in the car. Looks expensive. I'll keep it as a trophy. No way I'm working this job for peanuts for nothing. They don't need it anymore anyway." "Did you check what's on it?" the medic asked. The paramedic shook his head. "No, I'll watch it at home, nice and slow, alone." At the mention of the camera, Michael trembled all over. Realizing the curse of the video would now pass to someone else,